Thank you. So we are now live. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining this Corporate Parenting Committee meeting, which is being held in line with the requirements of the Coronavirus Act 2020. Before we move to the formal business, for the benefit of those joining us online, I would firstly like to introduce myself, the committee, alongside the key officers who are supporting us here today. I am Councillor Lorna Malkin, Chair of the Corporate Parenting Committee. I am joined by Councillors Cruz, Kitching, Loughran, Lund, Spate, Stansby, Taylor and Tennant-King. We're also hoping that the co-opted member Joy Lund will be able to join us. Alongside the committee, I'm also joined by Cheryl Whitehouse, Head of Service for Children in Care and Corporate Parenting. Dr. Bala Seshadri, Clinical Lead for Community Paediatrics, will be presenting his report, and officers from Children's Services and the CCG will be supporting the meeting. Before we move on to the formal agenda items, I'd just like to confirm today's meeting procedures. We will take each item on the agenda in order, copies of which have been provided to members and is also available on the Council's website. I would remind colleagues to ensure that your microphone is on mute throughout the meeting unless invited to speak, to minimise the potential of background noise disrupting the meeting broadcast. In accordance with Council meeting procedure rules, my ruling as Chair during a debate will be final. When invited to speak, members of the committee will need to unmute your microphones and state your name before addressing committee. Please remute your microphone once you have finished speaking. I will invite any colleague wishing to comment on the report or ask questions to do so at the appropriate points in the meeting. Please can you indicate your wish to make a comment or ask a question by using the chat function. At the end of the debate on each item, I will seek confirmation from the meeting that it agrees to the proposed recommendations. If everyone is happy, then I shall proceed with our formal business. Okay, so we'll move on to item 1, which is acceptance of apologies for absence. We haven't received any apologies, although we do have a couple of members missing, but there are no formal apologies. Item 2 is to approve as a correct record the minutes of the corporate parenting meeting held on the 7th of October 2020. I'll ask members if you approve these minutes, and I'll take silence for that approval. So if anybody does not approve, could you let me know now? Okay, thank you. So we'll take that the minutes were approved. Item 3 is Chair's announcements. Firstly, I'd like to thank all the staff who took part in the recent Ofsted visit, and we look forward to receiving feedback from that in due course. I'd also like to thank officers who led the corporate parenting workshop for members on Monday. All the members who were able to attend found it a very useful and thought-provoking session. Finally, I've been provided with some updated figures by Sean Seagull following his placement stability presentation at our last meeting and members' subsequent questions. He states that overall we're making good progress. For children with 3 or more placements, our statistical neighbours rate is 10.6% and national is 10%, so Wakefield is below both. For children in care who have been in the same placement for 2 or more years, our statistical neighbours are 68.6% and national is 69%. Wakefield are a little below this, but not significantly, and it is an improving picture. So thank you for Sean for providing those updates. Item 4 is to note any items which the Chair has agreed to add to the agenda on the grounds of urgency, and there are no items there. Number 5 is members' declarations of interest. Members are reminded of the requirement to make an appropriate verbal declaration at the meeting on any items on this agenda in which they have an interest. Having done so, members are asked to complete a form detailing the declaration, which will be available from the committee officer at the meeting. Item 6 is the exclusion of the public and press. That the public and press be excluded from the meeting during consideration of agenda item 9 on the ground that it is likely to involve the disclosure of exempt information as described in Part 1 of Schedule 12A to the Local Government Act 1972 as amended. Right, so we now move on to the main agenda item. So item 7 is the Annual Health Report 2019-20, and Dr. Barler is here to present that report. Dr. Barler.
Hello, thank you. I've asked Cheryl if I was unable to bring up my presentation. I'm requesting Cheryl if she can project my presentation, please.
Let me know. It's saying it's presenting. Let me know when it's up because I can't see it. And then can you also indicate when you want me to move on?
Yeah, I will tell them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Can you see it?
I've seen the second slide. I think the first. I mean, if you can do a slide. Yeah, if you can make it a slideshow, please. The wine glass at the bottom.
Let me.
Cheryl, you've got two screens showing.
Have
Yes.
I?
Yes, it's the one on the left that we need to see, I think.
Oh, one on the left. Are you not seeing the first page of the presentation?
Yes, we are seeing, but we are seeing two.
You're seeing two?
Your desktop with all the various saving the files you have saved as well as this.
Okay, let me just bear with me and see if I can turn that off. Sorry, it's not my strong point. Just bear with me.
These computer viruses seem to be worse than coronavirus.
Has that made any difference? I've changed it to my primary monitor.
Yeah, but what's happened is it's being covered by everybody else's photographs. You might have to minimize that screen. Yes, thank you. And if you click the wine glass symbol at the, so it becomes a single slide. Slideshow, yeah.
Can you see it?
No, again, everybody's photographs is.
What about now?
Yeah, now we can see it. It's not we are seeing two slides, number 1 and number 2 at the same time.
Bear with me.
Okay.
Right. Has that made any difference?
No, your slide there, we can't see anything now. It says loading, so maybe it'll come. Yeah, it's come now.
Have you got it?
Now. Yes.
Lovely, thank you.
Right. So I've done a detailed report that has been submitted to you through the CCG, but I'm just highlighting certain features of the report, annual health report. My name is Dr. Bala Shishadria, one of the consultant pediatricians from Pinderfields Hospital. This is the annual report for the last year from 1st of April 2019 to 31st of March 2020, and I submit a yearly report. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, in the year ending March 2020, we had a total of 639 children who were in care. The numbers have gone up. So last year it was 612. This year it has gone up to 639. And the number of children taken into care was 260 last year, and it was 236 this year. So that was slightly less. Next slide, please. So now this is about placing children in care across areas. So there's some noise in the background. So of the children from Wakefield, 256 were placed outside Wakefield, and 356 children from other local authorities were placed in our with foster carers in Wakefield. Between 1st of April 2019 and 31st of March 2020, there were 217 children who were continuously in care, compared to 344 the previous year. Next slide, please. In this year, 231 children who are looked after by Wakefield Local Authority ceased to be looked after, and there were a total of 135 care leavers. So between that, these were between the age of 16 and 19, and there were 117 above the age of 19 years. Next slide, please. So because adoption is closely linked to children in care, I also do discuss about adoption. So 51 children were approved for adoption, and of this 37 were matched with adopters. Next slide, please. So children who have been taken into care need initial health assessments. This has to be done within first 28 days of being taken into care. So we did 238 initial health assessments in the last year. In March, instead of doing face-to-face consultation when the COVID outbreak started, we had to resort to telephonic consultations, and 19 were done by telephone. So this year there will be more that have been done by telephone. There were 15 children who did not attend appointments, and some cancelled. 4 of them cancelled quite late. So that means they were actually considered technically as not attending appointments. So 93% of the children were seen within the stipulated time of 28 days. This has shown an improvement. Last year it was 86.2%. Next one, please. Then children also need review assessments after the initial assessments. So if children are less than 5 years, they need to be reviewed every 6 months. And if they are above 5 years, they're reviewed yearly. We did 755 review assessments, and 95% of the review health assessments were done in the recommended time scales. Next, please. So just to get an idea of the age group, so most of the children, the highest number of children in care were between the age of 10 and 15 years, followed by children in the age group 1 to 4 years. So there are 146 children in 1 to 4 year bracket, and in the 10 to 15 year brackets we had 241 children. And there are 92 children who are 16 years and older. Next one, please. So immunizations, and 92% of the children had their immunizations up to date. Next one, please. Dental and eye checkups. So 76% of the children had a dental check, and 22% of the children were examined by an optician. But that doesn't mean that, many of the children less than 5, often we just ask them whether they have any vision problems. We don't usually get an eye checkup. So that's not an unnecessarily low figure. Also, even the children, the younger children who are not yet been to a dentist, when we see the children in the clinic, both for initial health assessments and the review health assessment, we do look at the oral health and look at the teeth and mouth. So school-going children usually have hearing and eye checks done by school nurses around the age of 5 years, and only if there are some concerns, they are referred on to be seen by the optician. So I wouldn't be too worried by this figure of 22%. Next one, please. So our computer system, which is called System 1, also captures a lifestyle, things like drug use, alcohol use, or smokers. So 69 yeah, young persons coded positive for one of the lifestyle issues, things like drinking, smoking, or drugs. So 21 were current drinkers. Some children had stopped drinking, 6, and some had stopped smoking. 12 of them had stopped smoking, and 55 still continued to smoke, and 22 had used drugs in the past. Now, a child might code for more than one thing. So one child might be a smoker as well as use drugs and alcohol. So 34%, 34 children had only one, were coded only for one of these, lifestyle concerns, but 23 had more than one. So they might be a smoker and use alcohol, and 3 had more than, and 12 had more than 3 codes. So they might be a smoker, they might be drinking alcohol, and might be misusing drugs. Next slide, please. So when we talk about health of children, unfortunately, physical health is it's not a major concern. I would say other lifestyle concerns are more important, make the children more vulnerable to long-term poor outcomes. So there are things like drugs, alcohol, sexuality, sexual exploitation, offending behaviors, mental health. So we Mediocs mainly look at the physical health, but we are supported by other agencies. So the Wakefield young people, the CGL were looking with support for drug and alcohol misuse. I think this service has now changed to another agency now. And Spectrum Community Health is helping us with sexual health problems and support around child sex exploitation. The nurses from this youth offending team, they offer health service to children who are involved with the youth justice services. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah. So regarding mental health, obviously this is going to be a major issue with children who are in care. They have been abused or neglected when they have been with their birth family, and then they have been taken into care and might be obviously upset about the lack of being with the family. So these children are supported by the emotional well-being team. A lot of work has been done in restructuring the emotional well-being team. Unfortunately, social worker Michaela Raj is not in a meeting today, but she's given me a little bit of information. So the emotional well-being team support children between the age of 0 to 18 years. But the support is not only to the child, but also to the family, because unless we support the child and the foster carers, there is a risk about the placement being broken down. So they also provide support to children in the residential homes. So they provide therapeutic support to children and young people. They might be having various mental health issues. They might have behavioral problems, emotional problems, which might be severe enough to impact their functioning. So they might be not doing well in school. They might be having behavioral problems in school and home. So the emotional well-being team support the children holistically in all situations. They work directly with the children and young people and the caregivers, and they suggest interventions. So these children become more resilient and they're able to cope with the trauma that they are experiencing, and also if there are any attachment-based issues, because obviously they've been taken away from the family and they might have attachment issues. So that's also being supported by the emotional well-being team. Next slide, please. So I'll talk a little about adoption. So two doctors, myself and another colleague who is now on maternity leave do the pre-adoption medicals. So after we do the pre-adoption medicals, we do the report, and that is we provide the report to the adoption agency and the adoption panel, and we also meet up with the prospective parents and go through any concerns they have and also issues any medical questions they have. So as you can see from here, the number of pre-adoption medicals have gone up. So it was only 78 in 2017 to 18, and now it has gone up progressively to 146 in the last year. Next slide, please. So there have been now the children are adopted, placed for adoption through a regional agency. That's a One Adoption West Yorkshire. And they have some new guidelines. So in the past, we would have an updated medical once in 6 months, but now the new guidelines is these children should be seen, have an updated medical within 3 months of coming to the panel. This is because it was felt that many of the children are very young. So when children are initially seen, they might be only a few weeks or a few months old. So we might not be able to get a good idea of the developmental milestones. We don't expect a few-week-old baby to be, the motor development, the fine motor development, speech, and all that. We won't be assessing. But when they grow up, we might be able to pick up any delay or any problems in development or any other health issues. So it's considered a good practice to review them within 3 months. As a result of this, we are having to do more updated medical reports. So in the past, we would not always meet up with the parents, prospective parents. Now we meet up with the prospective parents. It was face-to-face. So we would meet face-to-face with the adoption social worker for the adopters, the child's social workers, and we'll go through all the issues. And at the end of the meeting, we would also submit a report so that everybody is aware that the prospective parents are fully provided with all the information and they are satisfied before proceeding with the adoption. Next slide, please. So, in conclusion, I'd like to say that we are not doing too badly. So 93% of the children were seen within the stipulated time of 28 days, which is an improvement from last year. 95% of the review health assessments were done within time scales. As I mentioned, there has been increased demand for pre-adoption medicals, and also a colleague has gone for maternity leave. But we have been able to provide timely reports, and there's been no problem with the panel being delayed because of a lack of timely reports. There has been changes in the emotional well-being team. I think this is very important to support the emotional and mental health of the children in care. So we hope to see more changes in that team. And this year, in the coming year, I don't know what's going to happen. We have not been doing face-to-face appointments. So I think a lot of our appointments, the health assessments have been done over the phone. So I expect that things might change next year, but I think that is going to be throughout the UK, not only Wakefield. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Parler. Does anyone have any questions? I'll just kick off if that's okay. It was just around, obviously you keep track of the review and the initial healthcare assessments and how you perform with those. I just wondered if how you follow up or keep track of the recommendations of those assessments. Does that happen at all in any way that would appear in these reports?
No, we don't track because the doctors see the children only once. So we will, we will delegate or we'll make a plan. So, for example, if there is something that needs to be done by a GP or any particular doctor, we'll write to the GP saying that this child needs maybe a consultation with the dermatologist, or if there is if the child needs signposting, for example, if there's concerns regarding ADHD, autism, developmental delay, hearing problems, we can do that in our department. So I will make a referral. Whoever sees this child will say his child has got features of ADHD. Can the ADHD doctor see, or the child needs to be seen for developmental delay. But if it's outside agencies, or if it's something routine, like for example, the child has got dental health problems, or if it's got something that's not, we don't do it, then we will signpost it to the particular service. So we'll write to the GP, or sometimes it might be other things that the social workers might have to deal with. For example, a common issue is about children not attaining educationally. So we do say the REACH team or someone needs to look and support this child. Or if there is an emotional problem, major behavioral problems, we'll say social worker to refer to the emotional well-being team.
Okay, lovely. Thank you for that. I've got Councillor Lund wanting to ask a question.
Hello, Councillor.
Thank you. I wondered how sort of face-to-face health checks compares to having to do it more remotely, whether that had an impact for the child, for the foster parents.
I personally feel it is important to see children face to face, because many times you observe their behaviors and things like that. And often when we do on the, a personal consultation, I think we get more information. Often on the telephone, the foster carers are distracted, or, they got busy with something else. My personal preference would be for a face-to-face.
Thank you.
I know things are difficult at the moment. We have to find our way through it. I just wondered how the two compared. Thank you.
Thank you, Ros. We've also got a question from Joy Lum. Joy says that emotional well-being will undoubtedly have been affected by COVID. How is the EWT coping with any increase?
I won't be able to tell, because they are not part of our team. They are part of the camps. They work with camps. So I will not be able to exactly tell you. But I do agree with 100%. Even because I do neurodisability and I've been talking to other children, there's been major impact on children's health. So regarding specifically children in care, I won't be able to tell you how, because like I said, we are not, during review assessment, they might pick up more problems. But I don't know how many new referrals have been made to the emotional well-being team. I won't be able to tell that.
No. Okay, thank you. I think that's something we could pick up in a future meeting and possibly have a presentation from that team.
Yes, I think it's important, yeah. And maybe we'll, the long-term effects, we don't know what will happen. Next year we'll know when we have this meeting again.
Absolutely. It could be a very different picture, couldn't it? Yeah, so Cheryl's saying that we could have a presentation as well from CAMS, so we will pick that up for members, yeah. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions or comments for Dr. Barlow? If not, I'd like to thank you very much for joining us today. All the best to you, and hopefully, well, we'll see you in a year, if not before.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Cheryl, for your help.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Right, we'll move on to item 8 on the agenda, which is the Quarterly Advocacy Progress Report. Unfortunately, Bernardo's again haven't been able to send anybody to the meeting. Obviously, you were sent the report, so what we've said is if anybody has questions, we will send those back to Bernardo's and get answers for you. I had a question about the independent visitors. It makes reference to people, well, an increase in independent visitors or interest in that, which is great, but it does say it could be a result of people being furloughed or not in work due to the pandemic. So I was just wondering what we do to ensure that their commitment is a long-term commitment, and what processes are in place for that. I think that was my main point. Does anybody else have any other questions that we can refer back to Bernardo's? Or Cheryl, I don't know if you have any comments about how you're finding the service or the feedback that you're receiving.
Thanks, Councillor. Sorry, there are some changes at the moment within Bernardo's service. So, like yourselves, other than the report, we need to get a clear understanding of who's going to take things forward. That being said, I'm not aware of any impact that those changes have had for children and young people, and the services are still operating as normal, a bit. Some of that has been taking place virtually, like most things.
Yeah, okay, thank you for that, Cheryl. So if nobody has any other questions, that does actually conclude the main items of the agenda, apart from item 9, which we will have in private. So can I ask that the live stream be turned off now, please? And can you notify me when that's been done?